Pochettino takes over. Mauricio Pochettino has now been announced as the man tasked with turning the awful fortunes of Chelsea Football Club around for next season. Now, I've already done a video on exactly what I think Chelsea need to do to turn back into serious contenders for next season, where I cover everything from ingoings, outgoings, to decisions at boardroom level. So if that sounds like your sort of thing, hit the link in the bio to watch how I think we turn Chelsea back into title contenders. But in today's video, let's focus a little bit more on Mauricio Pochettino himself and what he will do at Chelsea. I, for one, personally didn't think that this was a great appointment when it was first made. I would have been much more in favour of Carlo Ancelotti, maybe when he comes to the end of his time at Real Madrid, which it looks likely he will now, being that they've gone out the Champions League to Man City. Also, Luis Enrique was on the market. Nagelsmann I wasn't too keen on, I wasn't actually very keen on having Nagelsmann come in, but definitely Enrique and Ancelotti were high on my list of managers that we would need to speak to. However, Todd Boehly has very much turned his firm attentions to Mauricio Pochettino, and if we take away the tribalism, if we take away the fact that he's a former Spurs man who, let's be honest, was sort of sitting around twiddling his thumbs waiting for Daniel Levy to reappoint him as the Spurs manager, do I believe that he is the right manager for Chelsea? It's a bit shit that I'm going to come on a podcast and make a video about this, but I don't know. And that is why I love asking you guys your opinion. You need to let me know in the comments whether you think Poch is right for the job. Let's go through the negatives and the positives. The negatives are he's never won anything. Pochettino has never won anything of any significance. I could win the French league with PSG, okay? I could probably win the French Cup with them as well. So I really do take away that. If you look at his highest achievements in football, it's pretty much making Spurs a sustained Champions League club. Now, a lot of people are obviously aware of this, but Pochettino was not the man to break Spurs into the Champions League in God knows how long. That man was the one and only, the legend that is Harry Redknapp. Although, I admit, Spurs did become a more consistent presence in those top four spaces under Pochettino. He also got them to a Champions League final. I liken that run to the Champions League final a little bit similar to the side of the draw that I was hoping Chelsea would end up on this year, which obviously had Benfica, Napoli, AC Milan and Inter Milan. All I'm basically saying is it had some easy clubs in there, but he did a very good job to get Tottenham to the Champions League final. However, something like getting to a Champions League final is something that at Spurs will be spoken about a lot. Chelsea have been to a Champions League final that we haven't won, and you don't really hear us talk about Moscow. It's not of any importance to us because we didn't win it. Chelsea are a club that win, and Tottenham are a club that, over my lifetime, haven't won too much, and that's why not mediocrity, but, second best is celebrated a little bit there, and I don't feel like it should be. For me, I wanted a proven winner in the job. Now, I also understand to combat that a lot of managers, great managers, have been at PSG and have been deemed not good enough by the board. You look at the likes of Carlo Ancelotti, Unai Emery, and obviously the legend that is Thomas Tuchel. However, I just don't know if Pochettino is the right appointment. He had a couple of seasons at Southampton where obviously, he did a good job, and I wouldn't have expected him to win anything. Fair enough. He had 6 seasons at Spurs. Only 5 of them were full seasons. And for me, if I'm looking at his record for Spurs and I'm looking at him as a manager that's coming into Chelsea, I would have at least liked to have seen him pick up a domestic cup in there at some point. But let's get on to the positives. The positives about Pochettino is he is very good at building a squad. Pochettino has in the past said that he likes about a 24-man squad. Being that Chelsea have about 1,235 players on the books at the minute, we're obviously going to need to slim down a little bit. Providing we can do that and he can get rid of some of what I perceive to be the deadwood, such as Ziyech, Aubameyang, Pulisic, people hate me for saying it, but Azpilicueta, who I now think has passed his prime, if he can get some of those players out the door and build a good, structured and stable first team 11, I think we've got a chance. Another thing is, Pochettino is renowned for his work he's done in the past with fullbacks. He has worked with some of the best fullbacks in the game and improved their game. However, the only one thing I would say is that Chelsea have always been best when I've watched them over recent years playing the 3 at the back, and obviously the 2 fullbacks being almost wing-backs like Reece James and Ben Chilwell. Pochettino, for 95% of the time that I've ever seen him, has always played a 4 at the back. So that is something that we may well need to see implemented and see if he can work at Chelsea. And that being said, because of the formation shift, I do see this being somewhat of a transition season for Chelsea, where Poch is just sort of trying to get it right and learn the structure of his team and who best to play. Another positive about Pochettino Pochettino is he has got a history of doing really well with young, talented players. And you look at the fact that Mason Mount, who was looking odds on likely to leave Chelsea, this can only be a good thing. If you look at the likes of what Pochettino did with Dele Alli, Moussa Dembele, Adam Lallana, and other players that have played in those sort of positions, I do think that he can get the best out of some of the players that we've got in our squad. Another positive is that he's got Premier League experience. Now, I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all to have Premier League experience. Carlo Ancelotti hadn't managed in the Premier League before when we had him in, and he won it. But if you look, you know, Thomas Tuchel hadn't managed in it and he won us the Champions League. But there's a little thing about the Thomas Tuchel era that is regarded with slightly rose-tinted glasses when you look at the fact that in the Premier League, it wasn't all that great. I'm not saying he did a bad job, but in the Premier League, I don't think that Thomas Tuchel had us as serious title challengers. So having Premier League experience of both Southampton and Tottenham are going to bode well for us. And one of the other things that I think is going to go in Pochettino's favour is we are not in any form of European football. Now, as much as I'll miss the European nights at Stamford Bridge, hopefully it's only for a season or so and we can get back to it the following season. One thing I do know is it is going to help us in terms of a less congested fixture list, less burnout from players, and more time to work on the training ground rather than the matches coming thick and fast every couple of days. And finally, maybe, and this is just maybe, there are no guarantees to this, he may well have Todd Boehly's blessing to get on with his job. It is no secret that Todd Boehly has been overly involved in the aspects of Chelsea Football Club that I don't believe that an owner should be involved in. You look at the Raheem Sterling interview recently and it was telling. Raheem Sterling said, in my experience of top clubs that do well, there's one voice and one presence, and that is the manager. And that is a backhanded way of Raheem Sterling saying Todd Boehly has been getting involved. And listen, businessmen and rich, wealthy people like Todd Boehly don't get to the status that they get to by not believing in themselves and also by not being stubborn in their way of thinking. But what I do believe is they also have to be adaptable and flexible and understand where they've gone wrong. Otherwise, their businesses would have failed in the past. And Todd Boehly, surely, if he can be those things, can see he has not played it well this season. I don't think everything Todd Boehly's done has been bad. I think that signing up the likes of Mykhailo Mudryk and Enzo Fernandez to long-term contracts are actually a good thing. And we will see the benefits of those investments in the future. However, there's been a lot of things that he has got wrong in this season. And if Todd Boehly has learned anything from this season, it is that he needs to hand the reins over to the manager and let him dictate what happens at the football club, who they bring in, who they send out, who they play, and exactly how the team is ran. So I think there is a good chance that Todd Boehly learns from this season's mistakes and he hands it over to Pochettino. And assuming that all those things happen and Pochettino has full control, I think this could be a successful season for Chelsea. I do think, and I'm going to put my neck out on the line now, and it's mad as a Chelsea fan, you know, growing up with the success that I have with our club, I'm saying I'm putting my neck out on the line to say this, but I do think Chelsea will get a top 4 finish next season. I think we'll have a much better season under Pochettino. He wasn't my first choice for the job, but we are where we are and we've got to get behind the manager. And listen, Pochettino is Poch, but he's not Rafa Benitez. I never really liked Sarri. I never liked Scolari. A few of the managers, Avram Grant, he got us to a Champions League final, but let's be honest, he was absolutely pony. So a few of the managers we've had I didn't like, but yeah, Pochettino I think will do a good job with Chelsea next season. Does he turn us into title contenders? No, let's be honest. I don't think he does, but it can only be onwards and upwards from here. People, let me know what you think. How will Pochettino do in his first full season at Chelsea? Let me know in the comments below. As soon as this video goes up, I will be live in the comments. I'll be replying to every comment, so please let me know what you guys think.